Yo, sup? So at the time of making this video, I've been on Fiverr for a little under 3 months, working as a session bassist and guitarist. I just got ranked up to level 1 seller, so it seems like an appropriate time to be making a video about it. Fiverr's been contributing pretty substantially to my monthly income since I started, and honestly, it's like pretty fun and rewarding work to do most of the time, but I'll get into that part a little bit later. Anyways, I've seen a lot of kind of sensational videos talking about just like how to make tons of money on Fiverr, and I don't know, stuff like that isn't really my jam. So I thought I'd just make a video giving you just my take as just like a regular dude who likes to play music and is trying to develop a side hustle online in an ever-changing music industry. So yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. I first became aware of the Fiverr session musician community from bigger YouTubers like Davey504 as well as Samurai Guitarist when they started making challenge videos maybe like a year or two ago. Videos like theirs definitely started bringing attention to that component of the Fiverr community. I thought like, yo, I've done like a lot of session work like live and in studios like in my local scenes and regional scenes and stuff, so I might as well give this a try. So I started setting up a profile, yeah, about a year or two ago, and I thought to give myself some ideas and inspiration, I'd start looking up some other bassists' profiles, and like, oh boy, was that ever a bad idea. I started looking at these other bassists' profiles who were just like phenomenal players and incredibly versatile, like all over the world, and they had already built up reputations on the platform with like dozens or even like hundreds of orders under their belt. And yeah, like I was totally deflated. Yeah, not to mention there's a lot of regional advantages to a platform where people are working on it globally and it's basing the rates off of the US dollar. Like here in Canada, at least at the time of making this video, our dollar is worth 74 cents on the US dollar. So if I was to make $10 off of Fiverr, I'd end up getting about $13.50, which is approximately what an hour of work at minimum wage would be. Using the example of the other country that borders the States, let's say a Mexican bassist was on Fiverr and he made $10. Well, 10 US dollars is the equivalent of about 223 pesos, which is equal to about a full day of work at minimum wage. Yeah, so you can see, just being in competition with people who do the same things as you do, but on a global scale with like different cultures and different economic circumstances, yeah, you could see why I was like pretty intimidated. So basically, yeah, I just abandoned my profile and gave up. Like, I think I'm a pretty good bass player, like in my local scene and stuff, but like how am I supposed to compete with like all these amazing musicians all over the world? It wasn't until, yeah, about like a year or so later during the great quarantine of 2020, where I finally had a little bit of extra time at home and a little bit more courage and motivation to start putting energy into making a new Fiverr profile. Yeah, I deleted my old profile that I had used to buy a few things, and made a new one to start fresh as a seller. So yeah, now that I've given you a little bit of background and talked openly about my fears and doubts getting into this, I'm going to talk about how I actually approach doing this and give you my first piece of actionable advice. Be specific about what you can offer. I noticed a lot of profiles for bass players on Fiverr with titles like, I will be your professional bassist, or I will play bass for your song in any style, which are pretty broad and general titles, which is cool for those people that already have a market for what they do, but for just me coming into this, if I'm trying to market myself similarly, you know, why is somebody gonna hire me who's like a nobody when they can hire one of these other people who already has like a reputation and like a body of work offering like the same kind of service? You know, the market doesn't really need another jack of all trades. There's plenty of those. So I tried to think, you know, what can I do? What's a unique service that I can offer that plays to my own skill set? So I thought, you know, I'm a pretty good funk bass player. I'm good at grooving, and I think I can do that pretty authentically, as well as I'm still pretty versatile within those realms. So I made my first gig. I called it, I Will Give Your Song Funky, Groovy, and Exhilarating Bass. It took a couple weeks for the orders to start coming in, but once they did, they were mostly in styles like funk and hip-hop and house, and stuff that the style of bass that I play actually complement pretty well. Would you say it worked? Well, I haven't quit my day job yet, but it's been going pretty well so far. So I wanted to keep the ball rolling, and I made a second gig for lead guitar. You know, I've been playing guitar even longer than I've been playing bass. I think I'm equally competent at the two. I play a pretty good sounding solo. I'm not a shredder by any means, but, you know, I'm pretty good at putting together a solo that is well phrased and has good catchy melodies that you can hum along to, and I can play pretty fast when called upon. So I made my second gig, which was called I Will Give Your Song a Solo That Is Well Phrased and Exciting. Shortly after that, maybe only a few weeks ago at this point, I noticed that I was getting a lot of work comparatively from people in the hip-hop and electronic realms, so I thought I'd make another guitar service that was geared towards the clientele that I was getting the majority of my work from. And I called that one, I Will Make You Custom Organic Funky Guitar Samples. Between my two guitar gigs, I've gotten a solid few orders on each, but definitely nowhere near what I've gotten on my original bass gig. But I do think it's pretty cool that an instrument like guitar that I've never really gotten any gigs on in the local scenes I'm in, but I've been playing in my room for years and years and years, you know, that I was able to turn that into an additional source of income on top of doing bass stuff, which has kind of been my main for the past several years. But yeah, now that I've talked about my approach to setting up a profile, I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual work that I've done. No two people or two songs you work on are going to be the same. Sometimes people will send me a MIDI bass line and ask me to recreate it. I do it, I send it to them, they like it, it's done. Sometimes they want me to come up with my own part, I send it to them, they like it, it's done. Sometimes people want me to come up with my own parts, I send them something, but they kind of needed to hear something they don't like to be able to explain what they did want, and then it's not done. But that's totally okay too. All these approaches to the creative process are totally valid, and as a freelance contractor essentially, you have to be patient and do what you need to be able to see out your client's vision. Whether it takes you an hour or 5 hours or hopefully not more than 5 hours unless you're getting paid enough. Some people just communicate better than others. And with the different kinds of people you're going to deal with and the different styles and levels of familiarity you have with them, you're going to have to see all of these through. So I notice now, after I've done enough of these, I can kind of get a feel for what kind of project it's going to be like from the first little bit of back and forth I'm having with the buyer. So if I notice that they're kind of not totally sure what they want, you know, maybe I'll ask them to send me some references of songs they want to sound like, so I have a better idea of what their vision is. Or I'll ask them to program, you know, a rough MIDI bass line, or even send me something of them humming, just so I have a more of an idea of what they want. And instead of just sending them stuff and taking shots in the dark and wasting everybody's time, you know, I have a little bit more to work with. And yeah, it saves time for me, it saves time for them. We're putting less energy in, it's just a way more enjoyable and productive experience for everybody. Yeah, I'm lucky that most of the people that I've worked with are just super chill and great communicators. And whether I've nailed it on my first try or it's took me several, everybody was happy with the product. But not everybody's been that chill, so I'm gonna give you one good horror story because it might be fun for whoever's watching this video. Alright, story time, yo! So it was just the other day, I got this order in, which is always kind of intimidating because I typically ask people to message me first to figure out if I'm the right person for the job. And I get this order in, this person orders my cheapest service available, which is a 30-second single guitar sample for $10. The instructions that he sent with it were, basically explaining that he wanted me to record a full song on both guitar and bass. I was given very little information to work with. The track itself that I'd be working with was basically like a skeleton of a song, like just a beat with a little bit of light melody. He wasn't sure what tempo it was, he didn't know what key or what chords the songs were using, but he sent some reference material with it, which were just like these big, lush, vibrant arrangements with like multiple guitar parts, textured and layered and processed and like weaving in and out of one another, and in a style I wasn't terribly familiar with either. Like, if this person had messaged me first and stated that that was their expectation, I would have 100% turned it down. But at this point, you know, the order's already in, there's not really too much I can do. Yeah, so I'm kind of just like, what do I do? So I listened to the song, I found a 30-second segment that I thought would benefit the most from having, like, a guitar sample, and I recorded just a part to that 30-second segment and basically explained to the buyer that, yeah, what he was asking me was far beyond the scope of the service he ordered, and if he wanted to cancel, that was totally okay, but if he wants to just work with the 30-second single guitar sample, then that's totally cool too. Just let me know if you like it or not, and I'm happy to work with that. Well, after a fair bit of waiting, he finally does get back to me, was understanding of the fact that what he ordered was just, yeah, or what he was asking for was just way outside of the scope of what he ordered, and said he wanted to work with the sample. But that the sample that I gave him, he just didn't like it at all, and he wanted a new one that sounded more like the reference material he gave. Again, as I said, the reference material he gave was just like multiple layers of just like textured, nuanced guitar parts weaving in and out of one another that couldn't really be recreated with a single guitar sample, which was what he ordered. So I did my best to try to simplify that idea into something that could be recreated with a single guitar sample, and I sent that to him, and was just like, well, if you don't like this, then like, let's cancel. And it took like a full day for me to hear back from him, and when I finally did, this was only like an hour or two away from when the order was due, and he was basically just like, well, I don't like that one either, you cancel it. So, I canceled it. Is that gonna hurt my gig's placement in FIVERR's algorithm? Probably. But at that point, I really feel like it was the best thing I could have done. Yeah, when somebody doesn't understand the nuance of what they're asking you and how to articulate those ideas, like, you're never gonna please them. So I feel like I did the right thing. Yeah, these experiences with clients like this definitely are kind of a byproduct of charging very low rates, which is a good segue into my next section. My plan moving forward. As I said, my rates are very low compared to what the industry standard is. I'm working part-time as a cook right now, making a sustainable income without the session work, so I figure in these early stages, I'm better off building a reputation and a clientele and just doing as much work as I possibly can. My job is kind of seasonal though, so within the next few months, work's gonna start slowing down, and hopefully by then, the session stuff will be steady enough that I can kind of flip a switch and raise my rates. Yeah, hopefully the clients I have will accept this, because they think a slightly higher rate is fair given the quality of the work I produce, which I definitely put everything I have into every job I do. I do the best job I possibly can. At a certain point, you kind of have to value your own time, and honestly, I've found most of the best people to work with, they already pay me more than I'm asking, because they value my time and the quality of work I produce. On the other hand, a lot of the people that order the cheapest service can often be the most difficult projects to work on as well. So if all I really stand to lose by raising my rates is a couple of people that don't value my time as much as others, I think that's a fair trade-off. It's also kind of hard to predict how steady things are going to be in any kind of freelance field. I have some people that come to me for like every song they make now because they're making an album. I have some people that just come to me occasionally for the odd song here and there. Some people come to me when they've just kind of hit a brick wall creatively and need somebody to bounce ideas off of, and I'll never hear from them again. But yeah, let's say one of the people who I'm making an album with, and they come to me like twice a month, because I'm doing every song with them for this album. Let's say they like finish the album and they don't need somebody again until like next year, or maybe they find somebody else who they work better with. Like, I have to be ready for that. So I'm not quitting my day job just yet. I'm also continuing to work on my YouTube channel and build my presence like there and on Instagram, because having like an online presence like all works symbiotically. Some people have found me from my YouTube cover videos and decided they wanted to hire me. Some people have seen me on FIVERR and they started watching my YouTube videos because of it. Heck, I even had one dude who was scrolling FIVERR, recognized my picture in the thumbnail from the Davey 504 video I was in, and was just like, yo, that guy grooves, I want that guy. So yeah, there you go. I wouldn't mind exploring the idea of like online video lessons through like Skype or something too in the future. I also am continuing to always make my own music that hopefully I can make some kind of passive income through streaming off of eventually. But these are all bridges that I'm gonna cross when I get to them. I'm just focusing on what's the path of least resistance right now. But yeah, the takeaway from that should be like, definitely have like a good online presence when you're trying to do freelance work online. It's not necessarily about being the best at something. It's more about being the first person somebody thinks of when they need the thing that you do best. Hopefully I've covered most of my thoughts. Honestly, doing this the past couple months has been very rewarding. I've met a lot of amazing artists, I've made new friends, I've gotten so much better at recording myself. Not to mention, I've even like worked in styles that I never would have expected to work in, like doing guitar solos for synthwave projects. Like, what? But yo, it's a lot of fun, I love it. It's all been a very expanding of the mind experience. More music is being made at home now than ever, and I genuinely feel that this is kind of the direction that the music industry is heading in. In a world where Billie Eilish's and Lil Nas X's are topping the charts, it's never really been a better time to be a bedroom producer, and bedroom producers are going to need session musicians. So yeah, I hope watching this video has given you a little push to try to market your skills and your art in the online world and really take advantage of globalism. Yeah, whether you're a musician or any kind of artist or freelancer, these same concepts should apply, so what better time to start than now? If you made it to the end of this video, please subscribe to my channel, I appreciate that. Please follow me on Instagram, I appreciate that too. And yeah, lots of cool content coming in the future. Thanks for watching, love ya, peace out fam.